Hey guys, this is Lovely. Welcome back to the Infidelity and Confidence Rebuilding 101 course. Of course, this is a free course that I am putting out into the universe because I want us to be able to have more open conversations surrounding infidelity and the stigmas around it. I don't want us to feel ashamed or guilty because we're going through life's challenges. I want us to understand that there is an open community out there that does not place judgment. We listen and we don't judge. And if you ask us a question, we're here to help, not hinder. That is my biggest platform. I really believe that I was put in this world to be a resource, to be a leg to help people to create safe spaces. And this is a topic where safe spaces are 100% needed. So in week 3, we're going to be discussing rebuilding trust in yourself. Again, I want to caveat at this with you going to therapy, you seeing a counselor, you talking to your psychiatrist, you talking to a third party. Maybe you have a mentor, a separate coach. Maybe you're looking for coaching. I'm always available for that. Maybe you are trying to find a supportive circle, a community where you can talk about these issues and not have that backlash of, I can't believe you went through that. If it was me, I would have. Hey, 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 we're all here. We're all in the club. We didn't want to be in the club. Okay. This wasn't the club. We wanted to be in the club, but we're in the club. And that's not the same place. Okay. None of us can have our heels on because our feet hurt. We tired. It's after 10 o'clock. We still don't understand why our bras on, but we still here in this club. All right. So if we're going to be in a club like this, not not due to our own fault, let's be supportive. That's super big with me. So this week we're going to be discussing several topics. This is like a heavy hitter topic. Last week was like 2 topics. This week I think we actually have 6 topics that we want to try to get in. And I know that's a lot to deal with, but again, the templates are already up on my website. I've opened it up so that if you just go to the website, www.loveliestem.com, you go to the Infidelity and Confidence Rebuilding page, and you will be able to download the information and just take a look. Okay. That way I try to take away as much of the I try to give you as much autonomy as I could, right? Now, if you want to join in on discussion, you can also click on the classroom option and just we can discuss it. We can talk about it. We can be in a safe space where everybody doesn't get to see your information. It's just whoever signs up for the class. So let's discuss the topics. Now, it's a lot. I told you this. 1, overcoming self-doubt and fear. 2, how betrayal affects self-trust. 3, identifying limiting beliefs and rewriting narratives. 4, steps to rebuild self-trust. 5, letter of self, a love letter to my future self. This one right here, baby, what they say? It's eaten. It's eaten. I love that one. An affirmation circle. So what I did was I created a slide of affirmations for people who have gone through infidelity, and you can go through and just like take what works for you. What doesn't work for you, you don't have to take. That's the great thing about courses like this, right? As a coach, it can feel like you are putting all of this information out into the ether and you're hoping that everybody's going to it's going to resonate with everybody. You're hoping that everybody's going to be able to take this information and run with it. You're hoping that you're going to have 100% participation. And I think as a coach, it is so important to remember that sometimes signing up for a coach was as far as you could get to. Sometimes signing up and taking the first class was a lot for you. Sometimes it's just listening to the coach. Sometimes it's visiting their page. Sometimes it's even opening your mind up to the fact that you need a coach. And that can be so overwhelming, but especially if you're adding in infidelity or betrayal. I think confidence rebuilding is something that a lot of us we're learning to work on in a more open-minded way. But when we're talking about infidelity, it's something that makes you want to pull your shoulders in. You're trying to protect yourself from all of that emotion that's coming in. versus having your shoulders back, your head held high, and understanding that we all go through these trying times and figuring out what lessons we've learned and how can I pivot these things and make it fruitful. And it can be very hard to think like that. You want to throw fruit, but at the person, not at yourself. Anyway, so let's start with the first topic. Let's let's talk about overcoming self-doubt and fear. Okay, so when we are talking about overcoming self-doubt and fear, I created a comprehensive guide because my thought was, what if you what if I stop posting today or tomorrow? And you were like, oh, that person was about to do something. She was about to do something about overcoming self-doubt, and then like her video stopped. My thought is, my heart will go on and on. This information can go on and on, right? And I want us to think about overcoming self-doubt and fear in a very logical way, and like at the top tier in a very logical way. And then we're going to add in emotion and add in action. But I want us to look at ourselves as top tier, right? Logic. What are the facts? What is the truth? Not what you feel the truth is or you feel the facts are. What are the facts? What is the truth? And sometimes that can hurt your feelings because you're like, this doesn't match, like my anger doesn't match the facts, but I still feel some kind of way. That's when you talk to your therapist or your counselor, right? That's when you go in and you really have these super deep conversations and you try to figure out how these things work together, because I can promise you, your therapist, your counselor, your psychiatrist, a lot of them can give you very nuanced layers of what's going on. They can help you really decode your emotions and the conversations that you're having with them and kind of break it down so that you can figure out where you want to be and how you want to heal and what does healing look like to you. I always advise, please find a cultural competent therapist. You need somebody who understands you and your life. It is so important. It's so important. So let's talk about self-doubt. Self-doubt and fear can be paralyzing, keeping you stuck in a cycle of hesitation and insecurity. Baby, I was doing donuts in hesitation and insecurities when I was going through these things. They prevent you from fully stepping into your potential, taking risk, and embracing the life you deserve. Okay, so let's just think about that. The potential that you have, taking risk. And I want us to, I keep talking about self-doubt and fear in small increments. I want us to really look at our lives, our daily lives, right? Because we look at these videos and they're grandiose, they're amazing. But like, what does self-doubt look like? It's the hesitation of, it's the beginning to walk and then stopping. It's the idea that you're walking and you're hesitant about it, so you stop, and then everybody else behind you piles up on you, right? And then you get embarrassed and you start to round your shoulders because you want to protect yourself from the insults that you feel are coming in, right? The fear of somebody saying something to you because you hesitated. But why did you hesitate? Why were you afraid to take that next step? What was taking that next step going to change for the better? What about that next step was going to change for the worse, right? And it can make you feel like you're holding yourself hostage. Ugh. Okay. So the intentional action, mindset shift, and self-compassion can push you past these barriers and reclaim your confidence. But what does that mean in like layman's terms, right? And the reason why I created this guide, and some of the things that, like some of my teaching is very verbatim because I meant it when I wrote it. Other things are just like the caveats. We take something and then we figure out how to flip it and make it make sense for us. And that's why we are having discussions about infidelity and we aren't just harping on the infidelity, right? I'm here to help you heal. I'm here to help you move forward. I'm here to help you have better relationships with yourself than others. I'm here to help you learn how to trust yourself so that even if you aren't able to fully take care of yourself, you aren't fully able to make decisions for yourself, you trust that you can pick out people in your life who really mean to take care of you. They really mean to love you. They really mean to help validate you and reinforce the positivity, not toxic positivity, the positivity that they see in you and help you come out of some of those negative beliefs that we have when we go through such a hard time. So let's think about solution based offensive ways of thinking. But I want us to understand a few definitions so we can like ride back, right? We can get right through these things. So past experiences or failures, negative experiences that shape how we perceive ourselves. If you face criticism, rejection, failure, you may hesitate to move, right? What does infidelity do, right? What is it? You face criticism. I wasn't good enough. Some of it's from ourselves, right? I wasn't good enough. You can face rejection. They went with someone else. It can feel like the relationship was a failure. That by itself can make you feel so it can make you feel unseen, unheard, and not validated, right? Comparison to others. We talked about this in our last videos. Consistently measuring yourself against other successes can make you feel inadequate. When we're talking about infidelity or betrayal or having difficulties in our relationships, when you start comparing your relationship to other people's relationships, when you start comparing your relationships to pictures that you see on the internet, when you start comparing yourself to pictures of other people that you see, when you start comparing yourselves to other people's jobs, right? It can make you feel inadequate. It can make you feel like the successes that you made aren't equal to the successes that other people made. And it makes you feel subhuman, sometimes self-inflicted, other times situational. But you have to really step back and remember that we're all human. We've all gone through something that made us question who, what, where, when, how, and why. Okay, just remember that. Perfectionism. Baby, we all out here trying to be perfectly imperfect. And that is insane to me. I was on the choo-choo train of perfection, baby. Yes, I was. It's the unrealistic need to be perfect can make you feel reluctant to make decisions when the perfection doesn't live up to the idea in your head. And remember, we're talking about cognitive dissonance. I was having this conversation with you guys in some of my videos. Cognitive dissonance, when the reality of what is versus what you think it should be does not emotionally match, and it causes you to have these severe breakdown of what the reality is. We're all living through that right now. I said we all, I can't. Some of us are. Some of us are living through that right now. Add on top of that the stress of trying to have the perfect life with the perfect job and the perfect spouse or the perfect, be the perfect daughter or the perfect son. You have all these things that you're sandwiching into life. And when you smush it down, what happens? Things break in between that. Lack of self-esteem. If you struggle with decision making or doubt your abilities, you may be afraid that you're making mistakes, right? You're afraid of making mistakes. You have a fear of making mistakes, a lack of self-trust. I always akin it to when let's just go with platonic, right? You pick a friend in school and you guys have been friends the whole school year, and then you guys separate during the summertime. When you come back, that friendship may feel strained because you guys have gone through different things throughout your summer. You guys have grown different, maybe experienced some traumatic or not, or growth based um experiences. And so the doubt that can be cast in between that, because you're trying to figure out, do we still match? Do we still belong together? Now add into that, if somebody walked over to you and was like, hey, Kelly told me over the summer that you guys weren't friends. Betrayal. What happened? I thought we were okay. We were still texting each other. We wrote a couple emails. We were good. We were just busy, right? That self-doubt that kicks in. And what happens with self-doubt, if you are looking for a perfect relationship, you don't go back and ask questions, right? You don't ask questions. You just start digging deep into yourself. What did I do wrong? What could have I said better? Don't let you have had past experiences of failure or neglect, or had people invalidate your feelings. Now those negative feelings come into that relationship, and it will change the way you communicate. It will change the way you see each other. It will change the pure feeling of that initial relationship. And a lot of that has to do with learning how to communicate, learning how to set boundaries, and learning that we all grow, right? You have to allow each person in your life to grow in the speed that makes sense for them. And it doesn't always make sense for us. But you can see how that lack of trust in yourself based off of past experiences can really come in and create that ability to doubt that that friendship is real. But also, don't let infidelity come into that. Now you don't know if you should be dating, not dating. Should you trust your spouse, not trust your spouse? Hell, who knew about this shit? And I don't trust none of y'all. And you can see, when you stop trusting the people who had your back, how easily you can go into a loathing yourself and then losing self-trust in yourself so fast, so fast. And limiting beliefs from childhood or societal conditioning. This is what I'm talking about when we're talking about past negative experiences not being validated. Learning that your voice is irrelevant, having these spaces where you were told and or felt that you weren't good enough, that you weren't ever going to succeed, that you were bound to be a bad apple, right? Those things can really affect how you see yourself and where you go within this self-doubt and fear like cycle that can get out of hand so fast. Okay, so now we're going to discuss practical strategies to overcome self-doubt and fear. Practical strategies, right? We're going to discuss acknowledging and reframing from negative thoughts. I understand that it's hard, but that's what we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss shifting your perspective on fear. I was like, I don't trust you, but let's see what happens. Taking small, consistent actions, celebrating every win. I'm so big on that because it really helps with self-doubt and trusting yourself. Surrounding yourself with supportive people. Throughout this course, this will be something that I am really emphasizing and doubling down on. Using affirmations or visualizations in order to combat that self-doubt or fear. Embracing imperfections and learning from your failures. Failing forward. I love that. Number 7, strengthening your self-trust. Oh, baby, let me tell you something. When you trust yourself, there ain't one mother sucker out here who can tell you anything different, baby. Self-trust turns into self-confidence. Self-confidence turns into creating boundaries, turns into creating steadfast practices for you to grow and heal. It turns into you having positive communications with yourself. It's you seeing yourself in a very human light. It's you creating spaces, safe spaces where you now show yourself grace and kindness and patience, and you create calm and peaceful environments for yourself. When you like that, there is nothing anybody can tell you. You'd be like, you can't tell me shit. Anyway, number 8, developing a resilient mindset. Number 9, practicing mindfulness and self-compassion. And number 10, taking a leap of faith. Jumping off. What they say, I'm jumping out the window with this one. We just jumping out the window with this one. Jumping out the window. Whoa. That's what we doing. I'm telling you, like, some of the things that you have to do in order to heal really involve you re-establishing a love line with yourself. It starts with re-establishing a safe haven with the people who you trust implicitly with your emotions. And sometimes those people will not be the people that you grew up with. Sometimes it will not be the people who you expect to be there, right? It may be strangers who just are on this journey with you, right? They may not be able to physically be here, but they may be virtual friends, virtual besties. They may be virtual companions that help you get through life, platonic companions who help you get through life. And y'all just happen to be on this journey together. And because you guys are walking in this healing light and failing forward together, it's a bonding experience of healing versus a bonding experience of the toxic energy that we sometimes attach ourselves to when we're creating relationships. So let's go to acknowledging and reframing from negative thoughts. First, you got to breathe it out. Find your center, baby. Find a way to focus before you open up your mouth, because that negativity, it be sitting right here. It be sitting on the dock of the bay, swinging his feet in the water. Like, I see your boat pulling up and I'm about to do something crazy. And you got to be like, hey, I know how to man this ship. Let me tell you something. So our minds are powerful, right? And the way that we speak to ourselves matter. We are our first algorithm. The how you speak to yourself changes your algorithm every day, right? It changes it every day. You have to be very intentional about how you speak to yourself, what you say to yourself, what you put out into the world, the way you pray over yourself, the way you pray over other people, right? Because karma is a thing, and when you wish ill will on other people, it will come back to you tenfold. And that is just something that we see time and time and again. People don't believe it, but I be smelling it. I smell it out here all the time. So some of the things that you can, some of the questions you can ask yourself when self-doubt creeps in, you can stop and analyze these following thoughts. Is this thought based on fear or facts? Is the thing that I'm thinking, the situation that I am creating, is it based off of fear or facts? Remember, facts, top tier, right? We are basing our lives in facts. And then from those facts, we then can work on or create a space where we are adding in emotions based off of the facts that we've figured out. Would I say this to a close friend? Would you talk to yourself? Well, I'm sorry, would you talk to your bestie the way you're talking to yourself? Would the thoughts that are going through your head be acceptable to you if your bestie said them out loud, right? You probably be like, first off, and then secondly, I don't know who you talking. You better not talk to my bestie. You better do the same thing to yourself. You are your first bestie. That's the way it works out. And what is a more constructive way to reframe my thoughts? What's another way to say, hey, boy, I'm having some thoughts in my head, but let me figure out how to rework these, right? So instead of saying, I don't think I'm good enough to do this. Maybe you can reframe your thoughts and say, I may not know everything yet. I may not know everything right now. I may not have all the facts right now, but I am capable of learning and growing. I am capable of understanding and comprehending. I am capable of breaking down and creating actionable steps. Right? You got to start talking to yourself in a way that it boosts your spirit. I'm not saying that's a lie. I want you to hype yourself up all day. I was going to say, I'm not saying no, hype yourself up. Be Delulu. In this world, if we can have what we are dealing with right now, baby, I don't know why you not dreaming. Dream for the stars beyond Milky Way. Go out into the ether. Figure it out. You should be woo, 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 boy. You better not ever doubt yourself with the way the world is going on right now. So I want you to do these things. I want you to write down reoccurring negative thoughts in a journal and counter each one of them with empowering beliefs. Again, I don't think I'm good enough to do this. Pitch that out. I may not know everything yet, but I am capable of learning and growing. I love it. Okay, so next, let's talk about shifting your perspective of fear. Look, my underarms used to itch when I started feeling fearful, and I was like, I can't live like this because now I look like I'm on something and I'm not. But I was just like, all of my nerve endings was just crazy. I was sweating. I was like, maybe it's anxiety. No, it feels like more than anxiety. It's like when that metallic taste pop up in your body because you're trying to figure out what you need to do. That fear, I don't like that. But fear is often a sign that you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. I had to learn how to run into fear because my thought was, if I stay here, I can't change. I can't make it better. If I stay here, I don't create opportunities for me to grow. If I stay here, how am I going to see what else is out there for me to do? How is it going to get better? And baby, what I'm telling you is that I was really uncomfortable. I didn't like it. So instead of viewing fear as a barrier, recognize that it can be a growth indicator. There are times where feeling fearful is the right emotion. All right, we got to be honest about that. But then there can be times where walking through that door, fear is right in front of it. And you know that if you just fight through that and open up that door, on the other side is possibility. But you got to get through the fearful part. I don't want to take off my earrings because I really wore them and I like them today. My girlfriend Nikki made these and she's amazing. But I'm just saying, you might have to Vaseline up, tuck them earrings in, run through fear. So ask yourself, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? What's the worst that could happen if I fight through this fear? If that happens, how would I handle it? That's why we've been working through all of this the whole time, right? When I talk about you working through your fear, when I talk about you working on self-compassion, boundaries, self-trust, working through grief, it's because we are looking at we are creating an offensive way of healing and walking through our healing journey. We're preparing ourselves for when or if something happens to be able to handle it in a way that makes us feel comfortable with the decisions that we're making. And we're still going to fail at it because, woo. But I'm just saying, this is what we work on. Has fear ever stopped me from something that I later regretted? Listen, the only song that popped in my head was "Oh Happy Day When Jesus Washed." I'm just saying, because some days you be like, wash my tears away. I still woke up the next day after I was fearful that I wasn't going to be able to accomplish this thing, and I still walked through it and I still came through it, right? Like I still worked through it. The universe still created steps for me to take after I was fearful that I wasn't going to be able to accomplish that thing. I still woke up the next morning, me. My God, how does that work out? And what could I gain if I pushed past the fear? The things that we gain when we push past fear far outweigh the fear, right? It makes the fear look phony. It makes the fear look like a little small dot, a little blurb in the huge part of life, right? Because you can create better relationships for yourself. You create a more positive set of boundaries for yourself. You create a safer space in your head for yourself. You can create a more peaceful environment, a more supportive environment. You can create space where self-confidence, self-esteem, self-worth, self-care becomes such a high priority that when people come in and try to trample those things down, you've learned how to shut that door. You've learned how to lock the door. You've learned how to speak up for yourself. You've learned how to say, hey, this may not be an improvement in your life. This may not be important in your life, but in my life, it gives me light. It gives me hope. It gives me faith. I walk in the divineness that is me, and I like the way that feels, right? Because that's what overcoming self-doubt and fear feels like. It feels like you have walked into a new universe where you now have the lead in your life. And it doesn't mean that bad things aren't going to happen, baby, because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. However, you'll trust in the journey. You'll trust that when you're walking through this fearful time, that you're going to come out on the other end with more knowledge. And it doesn't mean you ain't going to be bumped up, bruised up. You may miss this ponytail, baby, missing, baby, but you're still here. And that is huge. So huge. So what's the actionable step? So the next time fear arises, instead of pulling back, I want you to lean into it with curiosity. I want you to journal about it. Try to figure out what it's teaching you. Try to figure out what the next step is going to be, because that next step could be your way out or into greatness, right? And that's what we have to think about. Just think about it, which leads us into take small and consistent action. You have to move in order for something good to happen. You have to move. You have to get out of your own way. Now, self-doubt thrives in inaction. I promise you that self-doubt and depression, they have a pact with each other. And what they want you to do is sit around and doubt that you can do something, doubt that you are stronger, doubt that you are resilient, doubt that you don't have an impactful voice. They want you to doubt that you can make a difference, right? And it can feel very comforting and stagnant at the same time. But when you avoid challenges out of fear, you reinforce the belief in your head, your algorithm, that you can't handle it, right? And the small things, the small, consistent actions that you have to take on a daily basis reinforces the fact that you are moving and you are capable of creating this life. You are capable of creating and or asking for help to have these safe spaces in your life. So big. So let's have conversations about ways that you can stay consistently in action, right? You want to break goals down into micro steps. I feel like if you can count on one hand 5 things that you've accomplished today, you've done an amazing job, right? So instead of overwhelming yourself with like the full task, take one step at a time. You woke up this morning, first first celebration. You were able to stand up and or move and or be of sound mind and body. Second celebration. You have the ability to go to a place to be able to pay some bills to take care of yourself. Second, celebration. You have the ability to have conversations with and or be in the presence of people who make you feel safe. Fourth, celebration. You made it home or to a safe space where you are now able to detox and just be you. Fifth, celebrate 5 things in one day. 5 things in one day. Or let's micro this down even more, right? You woke up this morning and the first 20 minutes weren't full of crying. You took a shower. You didn't stay in the shower longer than you needed to because you were crying. You grabbed a cup of coffee. You shed a few tears, but you realized you had some things to do and that you were capable of doing those things. Third, celebration. You took a little walk today. You stepped outside in the sun, something you haven't done in a long time because you just felt like you needed to be in the dark because that's where you felt that your spirit was, right? But you stepped outside, couple minutes. Fourth, celebration. You came in the house, sat down on the couch, and you cried. But you stopped yourself at a certain point sooner than you would have the day before. Fifth, celebration. When I talk about consistent actions, I'm not talking about these and then I moved to another state and found a new job, brought a house, married a new person, had 3 kids. That is all great. I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking it. But in reality, baby, how much can we really handle? How much can we really handle before we say, I can't handle no more? But you have to be consistent about building that confidence in yourself. You have to show up for yourself so much more. You have to build stronger practices within self-trust because the fact that you trusted yourself, you said, okay, so I didn't cry. That means that I may not have to cry all day, right? Okay. So we're on day 5. All right, I'm gonna get up. I'm not gonna cry about this today. I'm gonna work on that. Okay, all right, all right. So I'm drinking my coffee, and I had a moment where I was just thinking about, I wonder what I want to eat later on today. My first thought wasn't about the infidelity. You took that walk. While you were walking, you saw a neighbor. You waved hi, they waved at you. When they walked over to you, you didn't go back into yourself. You didn't go into your shell. You had a conversation. It was very small, but you had a conversation and you didn't break down. These small actionable steps, right? Because the fear is everybody knows what's going on with your life. Everybody sees you as a failure. Everybody knows that, you were rejected. Everybody can see that you don't have any compassion for yourself. Everybody can see that I'm depressed. We're so busy thinking about what everybody else is thinking about that we've stopped thinking about ourselves as human. We've stopped focusing on our own healing because we're trying to figure out how to man fires in houses that we don't live in a lot of the times, right? You got to fix the fire that's in your house first before you can really go outside and start trying to take care of other people. Now, let me say this. That doesn't mean that if somebody else is going through something and you have the bandwidth to be there for them, that you shouldn't do that. You absolutely can and should, but actionable steps, small baby steps, right? So identifying one fear-based limitation you've placed on yourself and then take steps towards overcoming them. Small steps at a time, right? It may take you 2 weeks. It may take you 3 weeks, but it's okay because you're taking these steps. And that to me, growth, baby. So good. So good.